Hello, Markee Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life. And today we've got Mandy with us again. And she's from the Broken Toys Alliance. Now, the corp is Aftermath, right?
Right.
With a period.
Yes, Aftermath God.
So, Mandy, your name in game, it's Aurora Bulwark? Is that how you pronounce it?
Pretty close. Aura Bulwark.
Aura Bulwark, okay. I think I would trip on that a few times. Maybe I just did.
Most people do. Wouldn't worry about it much.
Now, you've been playing the game quite a long time. And, in fact, what is it, 4 years now?
About 4 years now, yes.
Mm-hmm. I would say that qualifies you as a veteran in the game.
I would normally agree, but I've run into, literally in the past 2 days, people that have been playing since 2004, so...
2004, so they're 8 years.
Yeah.
That they've been in, yes. Well, you know, it's all relative.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
There's a steep learning curve with Eve.
There is. And how long did it take you to learn to play the game?
To be able to grasp most of the tools and how to do them, about a week. To actually figure out the inner mechanics of gameplay, probably closer to a month.
Yeah, but then even beyond that, I mean, you still don't know everything about it. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely not. There's so much that goes on just with politics alone. I mean, there's a very steep cliff of a learning curve.
So, speaking of politics, now that you bring it up, that's part of our title here of what we're talking about. Crime, politics, and power. So, can you... Now, Eve is known for a very interesting dynamic of power plays and crime and the political scene. Can you... Are these three separate things, or are they all intertwined?
They're all very, very intertwined. Eve is quite unique that way. It allows players to literally sneak into, a corp, into an alliance, into the good graces, and they will literally play in that corp or alliance for years. But if they've got a grudge, or somebody says the wrong thing, they are literally allowed by the game, by design, to literally take that corp, take all its assets, take the alliance for whatever they're trusted with, type thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So so with the let's talk about crime first.
Mm-hmm.
And now I did a video once before, and in fact I'll put a link to it at the end of this video, about a Ponzi scheme that netted about $53,000 worth of what would be the ISK equivalent.
Yeah.
If you were going to buy that much ISK in game, you'd have to buy $53,000 worth of game time codes to get that much. And
yeah.
So what? That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane, but at the same time, you've got some of these guys going out there and literally putting down, $3,000 on time codes so they can buy one ship. It's a very big ship. It's a very versatile and pretty ship, but they literally go to markeedragon.com or another reseller, and they literally pay thousands upon thousands of their house mortgage or payment on their car or a couple of cars for different things in this game. It's quite crazy.
It is very incredible. I do know. I know more than 5 people that I can think of right off the top of my head that have spent more than $100,000 in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's not required to play the game. You don't have to spend that kind of money.
No, and honestly, I mean, if you do certain trades, certain skills, I mean, you don't even technically have to pay to play the game because you're earning so much in-game ISK. You're able to pay CCP to play their game instead of paying, the subscription fee. Mm-hmm. You can literally turn around and tell CCP, hey, I want to pay my subscription fee with ISK.
Right.
So, you can do it that way too. So you don't have to spend any money for Eve, but... Yeah, this is a hobby just like anything else, like going out to sports or doing other activities with your friends. And people, some people are like, well, I could have a boat, or I could, play Eve, and this is my hobby. So
Yeah, or I could have a ship instead of a
yeah,
boat.
yeah.
A ship just sounds bigger. Now I know it's virtual; it's just pixels, but
But they're pretty pixels.
they are pretty pixels. Yes, it's my so many megaton ship, or
Right.
and so the now going back to crime in the game.
Yes.
Tell me, tell me how. Okay, are you a nice player or are you an evil player? Will you get over on somebody if you have the chance?
Of course.
Oh.
Now, will I do it with my main character? No.
Hmm.
That's kind of the other dynamic of Eve is you can create an alternative character that can literally go around and be sneaky and evil, or just spam up market orders in Jita that are total scams. So, it just depends on how much you want your reputation to hurt. Like we've honestly had a few people in the alliance that have gone to the Eve Character Bazaar and bought tunes that, somebody used for an alliance theft, 2 weeks before, and they had all hell rain down on them because that alliance is still ticked.
Oh
And
yes.
even if they didn't have anything to do with that first bit, until they pulled up the character sale thread,
Hmm.
they were all out to get this poor guy.
So, and that now they can place bounties on people in the
Right.
game and stuff. So,
But only if you have, I believe, a negative sex status. I don't remember what the sex status has to be, but if you have a negative sex status, if you are in a positive security status, they can't really place a bounty on you. Now, you can go out and hire a mercenary to kill that person as much as you want, but
hmm, hmm.
that's an entirely different dynamic.
And is a mercenary a function of the game, or is that just somebody who says, "No, I'll kill him for the money"?
Right now, it's somebody that just says, "I'll kill him for the money." With them bringing in Dust 514, it will be a function of the game, but that's, a ways down the road until they actually put it into production.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like in beta, I know we've got a couple guys that are, doing that, and it is a function of the game, and they're trying to see how it's going to interlink with what we're currently doing as mercenaries. But right now, EVE Online has a bunch of stuff in their forums about, mark threads, who you can hire, where you can go to. They all have different prices, different things that they require to kill somebody for a certain amount of time.
Hmm. What what is some of the and still talking about crime, I'm just thinking about tell me one of your most memorable experiences, whether you or your corp or your alliance was a victim, or whether you perpetrated it.
Um, well, I think the most memorable, just for us alone historically, um, as our corp and alliance when we split off from Mostly Harmless. There was a character called Lord to Evil who was one of the Mostly Harmless High Command. Basically, they gave him a raw deal, and he was very ticked off at how they were running it. And so before anybody realized how ticked off he was and revoked his roles or anything like that, he literally went in and stole, I think it was something like 800 billion ISK.
Wow.
Which, yeah. I don't think he got away with quite all of it because they caught him right before he could transfer a couple of the ships that he was taking. But he still got away with an extremely sizable sum. Mostly Harmless, of course, blacklisted him. He was pretty good friends with us and our corp and our alliance at the time. We everybody kind of said at the time, "Oh, we'll let him in. He'll pay for stuff." We're like, we don't care if he spends it all on 10 Titans. That was a pretty good heist. We just let him in because he did the heist. Um, at that point, it was just so much of a, yeah, he managed to get one over on them pretty good, and they'd been giving everybody pretty much a raw deal, which is why, again, Mostly Harmless broke up in the first place, as they were skimming off the back end, which is another crime sort of thing, is the Alliance had so many moons,
Hmm.
and they were telling everybody they made a certain amount off these moons. Apparently they were making about 10 times what they were telling people, so they were stuffing their own pockets as a larger kind of mafia type crime scene behind the scenes. But that's probably the most memorable just for us as an alliance and a corp type thing.
Hmm. It is. It's one of the few places where you can legitimately steal from someone, and it's part of the gameplay, as opposed to, real life. I mean, you're still going to have real life people, pissed off at you,
Oh yeah,
and want to come after you, but it's part of the game mechanics.
right.
What? How does CCP view this? I mean, are they like, player beware, or what about the newbie players that they get in there and they get robbed right off the bat, and what do they do for them?
Well, that's kind of the other nice thing about being a newbie player is honestly when you start this game you have no ISK, you have no real ships except for the starter ships that you get in game. So it's not such a big deal to be scammed right off the bat. Usually by the time you have enough ISK to be scammed, you're in a corporate alliance where somebody's going to be like, "Don't do that, man. Just don't do it."
Hmm.
But yeah, CCP kind of encourages it just because it takes a lot of ISK out of free play and puts it back in certain pockets where it's not in the player's grasp per se, and basically they recycle the ISK for them.
Hmm.
So CCP kind of encourages it, but at the same time, it adds a dynamic of gameplay that they wouldn't have normally if somebody wasn't out there doing that. So it makes it more interesting. So they encourage it, but at the same time, they discourage certain things like there are certain times when I added an extra zero and I sold this and can I get it back, and sometimes they'll take pity on you. It really depends, but
Hmm. Hmm.
most of the time you won't get lucky.
I remember back when I was playing Ultima Online when it was brand new, and one of the things that I appreciated about it a lot was the risk. And so, when you're telling the story about that and everything, I keep thinking to myself, man, I wish that these games these days had that. And but we do have a game these days that has that. It's Eve.
Yes.
So, and that to me is very, very thrilling. I have a hard time even in game of being a thief, but I have no problem whatsoever if somebody's done me wrong, bringing all holy hell at them, and getting my revenge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's how a lot of us got started in the PvP portion of this game. Like one of our main CEOs right now, he started off. We were out mining in battleships because again we were fairly new to the game at this point and we didn't quite get what we were doing. But we were out mining in battleships and we were putting our ore in cans, and this random guy kept coming by our cans and stealing our ore. We're like, is he seriously stealing from battleships out here mining? And we sure enough we convoed this guy later. We're like, do you seriously want to get shot, or what's going on? And he didn't know anything. He was just stealing steel, but he thought it was free war. But at the end of the day, we convinced him to come play with us, and he became our industry director for a while, and then he got into high sec ganking. So it kind of goes full circle.
Yeah. So now you talk about having him come in and do something. Is this like a political function, or is this what?
It's basically just somebody who kind of instructs the guys on what we want as a goal for earning certain ISK.
Hmm.
Like honestly, we don't really have a mining director per se anymore because we don't mine so much anymore, which is part of the reason he's out in high sec, killing large ships that are hauling stuff. But basically, some of our directors had certain titles. Like he was the mining director. We had another that was, our Sky Marshal or PvPFC. And it was technically a political function within the Alliance. It wouldn't really go outside the Alliance per se, but it was over all the guys in the corporations.
Hmm.
It's kind of a big tree of funnel and big mess.
Yeah. So tell me how does politics work in the game?
It works for about 5 minutes until somebody decides they don't like the other guy. But really, no. the bigger alliances usually have pet corporations that rent from them type thing. Um, when you get to like the Russians or Goon Swarm, stuff like that. Within the slightly smaller alliances like NC Dot and Black Legion, they're set blue to each other. Basically, that means that they show up as a pretty little blue square on each other's screen, so they know not to shoot that person.
Oh.
When Yeah, and when you get into the even smaller alliances and smaller corps, it's usually the corps will band together first and they'll be blue to each other and then they'll decide whether or not they like working with that guy, and maybe they'll form an alliance or they'll just turn each other red and shoot each other. But it's just basically a way of identifying who you're currently in line goal wise with in the game.
It sounds like there's no law in the game.
No, no, there's definitely not any law. I mean, you can shoot somebody who's blue. You'll usually get kicked out of your corp or alliance, or something bad will happen to you before then. But yeah, you can pretty much shoot anybody, unless you're in very high sec, in which case you can shoot someone, and then the CCP military or the police will come by and gladly kill your ship, probably before you kill whoever else you're shooting at.
Oh, interesting, like calling the guards.
Right. If you're not in the nullsec or the PvP zone, it varies on the length. Like if you're in 1.0 space, they'll be there immediately. If you are in a lower security space, like a zero point 0.5 or 0.6, it'll take them a little bit longer to show up. So, it just depends on how much you're waiting for them to save you type thing.
Yeah. Okay, so now with the how does power work in the game? Because there's these power struggles all the time, and so how do you win? How do you keep control? How do you do that?
Well, right now the SOV system is set up so you can do PI, which is Planet Industry, if you own the sovereignty in a system. To own the sovereignty in a system, you have to usually take it from somebody else. There's very little sovereignty that's unclaimed. Usually when a corporate alliance will die, that entire area will go unclaimed because nobody's paying the bills to keep it. In order to take a system, you literally have to go in. You have to put up sovereignty blockade units on some of the gates. There's an exact ratio. I think it's like over 50% of the gates. Once those are up, you kill the other person's territorial claim unit, and you put your own in. And it gets a little more detailed with iHubs and stuff like that. That's the basics of how you take a system. How you hold it is usually you try to have more guys than the other guy. Sometimes they can come in with just an overwhelming force, or they'll just be at that odd hour at like 3-4 a.m. where nobody's online, and they'll come in with 5 dreads and shoot everything in your system and reinforce it. Once stuff reinforces, it gives you like a little timer of when they can come back and shoot it again and pretty much destroy anything you have.
Interesting. Whole power struggle. Did you ever? You probably never heard of the game Trade Wars.
It's been a while, but yes.
Yeah. That one had something similar. You'd fly in with all your ships and try and overpower a sector and take them out and everything. And it was modeled after Star Trek. So,
oh, nice. Okay.
Yes. So anyway, that all sounds very, very exciting. About I don't know. There's just something thrilling about it. Like it'd make a good movie or something.
Yeah. Exactly. And
All the drama. That's what it is. It's drama.
It's drama, and it literally, like I said, it gets you right in the gut when something like that happens. It always does. So. That's probably the most fun thing about the game. I mean, honestly, if I didn't want that, I'd be overplaying Halo or something,
Yeah. So, okay, well, Mandy, I thank you very much for sharing that with us, and I look forward to doing this again sometime.
Definitely, it was fun.
Yes, so everybody who is watching this, so Mandy, her corp is listed on the screen here, and so if you want to hook up and if you've never been in a corp before or anything, look Mandy up,
Definitely.
And if you want to try the game, if you've never tried the game before, there's a link in the description to Markee Dragon where we have free trial accounts. And then for those big capital ships that she was talking about, if you need more ISK, we've got plenty of game time to convert it. But anyway, thank you, Mandy.
Definitely.
And
It's fun.
everybody take care. Till next time.